What's up everybody, my name is Dwight and welcome back to GeForce Garage. Back in March at the Spring PDX LAN, Dante Muddy won first place in the mod competition for his insane mini ITX scratch build that he calls High Voltage. We were lucky enough to get him into the garage and take a closer look at it, so let's go see how he built his little powerhouse. Well, welcome Dante to GeForce Garage. Glad to finally have you.
Thank you.
So what did you bring us here today?
This is my high voltage mod, which is a converted 1960s oscilloscope.
So this is an oscilloscope. What inspired you to work with that?
About 11 years ago, I went to a flea market and I saw an oscilloscope from about the 50s or 60s, and I just fell in love with the design. I decided that I wanted to build one and put a computer inside of it. So when I got home, I went on eBay and I quickly found one that was near the city where I lived, and I drove down to buy it, and then it sat in my garage for the next 10 years. So after my last mod, I decided that I was ready to kind of take on a project of this caliber.
Okay, I think that's probably the longest time that it's taken someone to do a mod is 10 years.
Yeah.
So what did you go about doing to actually start working on this mod?
So first I just kind of drew up what I was going to want, and then I just started working on it. I made kind of templates from paper for all the different places where things were going to be so they would all line up. It was originally just the oscilloscope, and I decided to add a base to it. I'd never made anything out of wood before, and this is brand new wood. So I just went online, saw some videos on how do you make a box. I used 2 different coats of wood stain and kind of sanding in between to kind of give it that different distressed look.
That's cool. And then you elevated it with some pipes.
I did. So since it was going to be the base, I didn't want it to just kind of sit on it. I wanted it to have some more height to it. So I added some pipes between the base and the top. And once I did that, then I also actually used those pipes so that the wires would run from the box up to the main computer.
And you're running those wires to front USBs, I saw.
Yeah, so I have 2 front USB ports. I also have a front USB and HDMI for my VR headset. I have 6 USB ports in the back, HDMI, Ethernet, and power.
So you never have to actually plug anything into the motherboard. You have pass-throughs everywhere.
That's right.
At the bottom. Speaking of wires, there's a ton of wires all over the place. Are those just for decoration or?
No, those are actually all functional. Everything you see is functional. There's actually 250 feet worth of wire running throughout the entire case. I had never made wires before either, and I went online and learned how to do it, and I just did them for the first time ever because I really wanted to do everything with this mod. The GPU wires, they go from the GPU all around the box, into the box, up the pipes, and then out the box and down the back.
I can see how you got to that 250 feet mark.
Yeah, the GPU wires alone is about 130 feet.
Wow.
So the other things, you know, I wanted everything to be kind of to the time period. So I tried not to use any zip ties. For the most part, I try to use these hose clamps on everything. So that way I can still keep everything nice and neat, and whatever's holding my wires together kind of looks to the period.
So is there any significance to the position of the GPU down below?
With the GPU, I decided to not have it in the case because I did want it to be somewhere else. So I decided to kind of put it between the pipes and have it be facing the front because I thought the metal really kind of went with the pipes. I bought the M&PC Tech vertical GPU mount, which was ionized black, and then I just kind of smudged it up with chalk gray and chalk black. So that way it kind of gives it an old effect and it doesn't look like it's something new.
I've noticed that you have kind of a green glow on the inside of the case. Is that just paint or?
So what that is, that's actually glow-in-the-dark paint that I made myself. So I bought matte medium, which is basically a matte clear paint, and then I added glow-in-the-dark pigment to that. And I added about twice as much as what you're supposed to use, so it would really glow a lot. So when the computer's off, the walls of the inside are gray, but as soon as you turn it on and the UV lights hit it, then little by little it starts charging, and the longer it's on, the brighter that the inside gets. And so when you turn it off, it actually stays on glowing green.
Do you have that UV light on a switch somewhere?
I do. So the 2 switches in the front, the toggle switches, those are for the lighting. One of the switches controls the UV lighting for the inside of the case, and the other one controls the lighting for the gauge.
And then you have this big red button that's right on the front.
Yeah, so that is the actual power button. So that is a brand new button, and I just kind of gave it a bunch of matte paint and different colors gray to kind of distress it as well.
That's cool. And so none of the buttons on the front of the oscilloscope do anything, or can I just go around and start flipping them around?
No, the front ones don't do anything, but there is a power light. And so that was the original power light for the oscilloscope. What I did is I took a red LED and I wired it from the motherboard power light header over to that front red light. I wanted to retain the soul of it, so the power light is truly still the power light.
And speaking of power, you have a breaker box on the back.
Yeah, so it is a residential breaker box in the back, and that's where I'm housing the power supply. I actually found that at an estate sale, and it was just kind of sitting there in the corner all beat up, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, I'm gonna put my power supply in there.
So I noticed that you have a badge on the front that I don't recognize. Where'd you get that from?
So that actually originally came from an NVIDIA stainless steel bottle opener. I wanted to have a badge in the front that was metal, but I didn't have really anything to fabricate it with. So I was actually using the bottle opener, and I thought to myself, oh, this is it. So I took the rotary tool to it and cut it up and glued it to the front of the case.
That's very cool. So is there any mod with this that someone seeing it for the first time probably wouldn't recognize?
Yeah, one of the things is, my dad was a ham radio enthusiast when I was growing up as a kid. So since he passed away about a year ago, I decided to kind of do this as a little bit of a tribute to him. And on the back, I have his call sign from when he was a ham radio operator, and the little 2 antennas at the top just kind of go along with that. When I put the antennas on, that was actually the very last thing I did to this mod, and I put them on and I just thought, it's done.
Not a lot of people can actually say that about a mod where they can step back and be like, I'm done,
Yeah.
It's done. Well, what are the actual specs of the PC on the inside?
So it's an ASUS H270 motherboard, an i7-7700K processor. I'm running 32 gigs of RAM. For the GPU, it's an EVGA GeForce GTX 1080 for the wing. And on the power supply, I have an EVGA 650 watt SFX PSU.
All right, well, Dante, thank you very much for bringing us your mod. What do you have working on next?
So my 6-year-old daughter actually has mod fever now, and I anticipate my next project is going to be a hot pink unicorn mod. So.
Okay, all right. Well, look forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
For all you in the Portland area, PDX Land Fall is back again this November. If you're interested, check out the links down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you for the next one.